Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's BBQ Joints, and I'm really excited to share this one. It is with John Brotherton from Brotherton's Black Iron Barbecue in Pflugerville, Texas. He is also a partner in Liberty BBQ in Round Rock. I've wanted to talk to him for a long time because I've always been curious as to what his story was and how he became essentially the barbecue sandwich king of Texas. Just creative, amazing sandwiches. Everyone I talked to said you have to go to Brotherton's for sandwiches. You gotta get the Reuben. You've got to get the Texas Philly. You've got to get the brisket grilled cheese, the banh mi. There's so many sandwiches that he does, and they do them remarkably well. And everyone says to go. And so I wanted to talk to him how he got into that, how he did that, and how Liberty BBQ was connected to this, and just his whole story. And this story includes a lot of information I didn't know. You learn about his early career, which involved laser printer cartridges, and he also did a stint, which he's not proud of or nor excited that he did, in collections for student loan debt, and talks all about that and everything in detail and everything heartfelt, and how he came to the Pflugerville location, how he partnered up. And Brady Clark, who is a great graphic designer for a lot of barbecue joints and a lot of barbecue people, he got connected. He is part of the story, and I'll put a link to his stuff below. So there's that part of the story, and then Russel and Misty Roegels are part of the story. They're a huge part of the story. They're a huge part of this, and it seems like just just about everybody is tied to John Brotherton and his story and his passion for food. And I have to preface this by the fact that if you listen to this, you will get hungry. I promise you. And hopefully you're near Pflugerville, and it's not on a Monday because I'm pretty sure they're closed on Mondays. But as long as it's not a Monday, head over there and have some of their food. And they also have brisket by the pound. They have all the Texas meats by the pound, and so they have great Texas barbecue. And then they also have these sandwiches. So I will step away so that you can listen to this interview. I promise you, you will enjoy it. And I am proud to have the Smoke Sheet on board as a sponsor for this podcast. The Smoke Sheet is a barbecue newsletter that arrives in your email box every Wednesday, chock full of information. Just go to bbqnewsletter.com, sign up, super easy. They don't take your social security number. They don't ask for any crazy information. Super simple to sign up, and once you do, every week you'll get great information. Last week they had a big thing on Fort Worth, on the growing barbecue scene in Fort Worth, which was awesome. Ryan Cooper, who is at BBQ Tourist, he's co-founder of the Smoke Sheet with Sean Ludwig, who is at NYC BBQ. Ryan was in Fort Worth a few weeks ago, did an in-depth study of many, 9, 10 barbecue joints. So that was put into the newsletter. So they go places and then they put that stuff into the newsletter, or they have guest speakers. But it has information, tons of information on pitmasters and where they're moving, where they're opening up. If a barbecue joint is closing, they have all the information on the events coming up, all the barbecue events that you don't want to miss out on. And I've noticed too, it seems like it's like a month to almost 2 months in advance. So that way you get a lot of time to prepare and sign up and go to these events. They also have a barbecue recipe of the week, which is a really good recipe. And it's great. And so if you sign up, after a year, you'll have 52 barbecue recipes that you could use. So or you can go back to the archives at bbqnewsletter.com and get all the recipes that you didn't receive because you hadn't been signed up. So I definitely recommend signing up. I've been on board since day one. It's a great resource. Go to bbqnewsletter.com. The Smoke Sheet is barbecue news worth consuming. And if you're digging these, please subscribe. I know a lot of people always say, subscribe to my podcast, subscribe to whatever, but I recommend subscribing. That way you don't miss out, because I'm putting out 1 or 2 or even 3 of these per week. Sign up to the podcast, go to Kevin's BBQ Joint. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to the new podcast network, type that in. You could find me, subscribe, check me out. I have a ton, over 150 episodes, so interviewed a lot of great people, some of them multiple times for my 10 minutes with segments, so check those out. If you are just listening to the podcast, I have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/Kevin's BBQ Joints. Tons of information, the actual video from these interviews, so you can see what the person looks like. So when you stop in their barbecue joint or see them on the street or at an event, you know what they look like. I have a website at kevinsbbqjoints.com with tons and tons of content. And I'm available at all the social medias at Kevin's BBQ Joints. Thanks so much. I really do appreciate you listening. Got a lot of good stuff coming up, but enjoy this.
So I'm partners in a second restaurant, Liberty BBQ in Round Rock. So I've got Brotherton's Black Iron in Pflugerville. And then I partnered up with another friend and a group, and we opened Liberty there up in Round Rock. So my primary residence is here in Pflugerville. My partner Trey actually runs that location. So really he manages the operation. I make sure that we've got good people in place cooking, and that the barbecue stays true to what we're doing here. So that's my primary function up there.
But do you spend most of your time in Pflugerville?
Yeah. I spend most of my time here. I really, honestly, only get up to the Round Rock spot every week, once a week or once every couple weeks or something like that. Just if there's something going on, if we're having issues or whatever, or just to check in with them. But it's not something to where I need to be there all the time.
And that's great to have like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've put in enough hours to where, whenever we started talking about it, that was the main thing. I was like, I can't be there, because, Trey makes the calls, and, I trust that he's doing the right thing. We all trust in him to handle business. So I don't have to be up there all the time, and it's nice,
Well, cool. Well, we'll get further into the weeds of that in a second. But I want to know, did you grow up? So then you must have grown up in Texas, then, right?
Yeah. So originally I was raised in the Houston area, about an hour east of Houston, in a town called Liberty. So that's partially how the name Liberty BBQ came about. But I grew up there. I moved to Austin in '95.
Okay.
Other than a few months back home in '97, which is where I met my now wife. I've been in the Austin area the whole time.
What was your profession at the time? Or what were you going into? Were you going into a different field completely?
Yeah, so after I graduated from high school, a lot of people don't know this in the barbecue world, but I was in laser printers. So toner cartridges, laser printer repair. We sold raw materials for remanufacturing toner and inkjet cartridges. That whole field, and I did that from December of '93 until 2015.
And that was good business, right? For a good period of time.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I did really well in it. I was in sales, and we developed some really large accounts. So financially I did really well, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But it was mostly manufacturing, and about that time, what was it, 2010, 2011, production throughout the industry started shifting towards China and really wrecked that industry. So
I was working in the furniture business, and that changed, and going to North Carolina twice a year for that business, and that changed when it shifted all to China.
Yeah. So So we, me and a buddy of mine, actually, who I started my first partner in barbecue, we left the company that we were with and started doing our own thing, because the company at the time really they weren't making it easy for us to deal with a very large client of ours. So we figured that if the company's going to piss it away, then we're gonna keep it rolling. So a friend of mine, we left that company and held on to that account for another 4 years, and it was easy money. We paid ourselves well and worked from home for 4 years, basically from 2011 to 2015.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was cool. So I mean, we paid cash for the barbecue trailer, and we're just having a good old time. And
so were you barbecuing, like doing little competitions and stuff, or doing stuff for friends, or how did you?
The same time that we left, so it would have been 2010 when we left that company, and we bought the barbecue trailer. So we were doing toner and whatnot, and then at the same time on the in the evenings and on the weekends we would roll the trailer out and start doing barbecue. So we talked about competitions. I've only ever done, I think, 2 cook-offs. Other than that, we were just cooking in the cooking barbecue in the backyard and for friends and whatnot.
What was on your menu at the time? Did you have sandwiches at the time too?
We did. So actually, when I first started, it was called Hall of Flame Barbecue, and everything on our menu had a musical references. Okay. So we named our sandwiches after, we had a Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it was a pulled pork sandwich, and then we did it was actually with bacon. It was Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. So it was kitschy stuff.
Did you have an Elvis with banana and peanut butter?
No.
I don't know how that goes. It just seems like a lot of people do that. I honestly, I don't even think I've ever had that combination.
Yeah, we talked about that kind of stuff, but we had like a Willie Nelson platter. And basically, it was like if you got the munchies or whatever. We just it was food trailer. The food trailer scene was really hopping in Austin. So having the catchy stuff like that, got people's attention and whatnot. But we did focus on sandwiches. We would do. We had one. It was called the Nickelback. I know everybody's going to clown on Nickelback, but it was just something we threw out there, and basically, we said it's a $10 sandwich, but we charge $9.95 or whatever, and we'll give you a Nickelback. But it had a
that's clever. That's clever.
chopped brisket, bacon, smoked Gouda cheese. I don't recall what else was on it. But then we did one that was called the Disturbed, and it was basically that sandwich, but we put a fried egg on top of it. So, so the sandwich thing has really been a thing that we've been doing since 2010.
That's interesting. I always wondered if that's was something that had just been something you're part of your plan.
Yeah. So I don't know. It kind of took a different turn whenever I came in and we opened up Black Iron, because then it moved toward away from the sandwich with chopped brisket. But everything was based with sliced brisket or chopped brisket. But once we started Black Iron, we moved more towards like iconic sandwiches, like a Philly cheesesteak, banh mi, Reuben, things of that nature. Other than before that, it was just whatever we threw on a bun.
Where was the trailer? Was the trailer amongst other trailers, like in a little trailer park?
We were at first. We were at a storage lot, Uncle Bob's. It's Life Storage now or something like that. That's where we started out at. And then in 2012, we moved into a trailer park, which is in Pflugerville, and it's actually 2 lots over from where my current restaurant is. So I can look out there and see that, we used to be in that field. And it's literally like there's a Dollar General store on one side of us, and on the other side of the Dollar General store is where we set up.
Are there trailers there now or no?
They're not. No, it was a short-lived trailer park. It wasn't well kept. Basically they ran electric over there and thought that was all we needed to have a successful trailer park.
That's funny.
And at the time, the scene was a whole lot different. The food scene in Pflugerville is completely different now than what it was then. And at first, people didn't support it. Then we got there's a Round Rock Market Days group that sell crafts and whatnot. And once those guys came out, then we started getting people in, and then it just got crazy from there. So we would get a lot of people to the park, but they were pretty much just coming to our trailer and not supporting the other ones. So long story short, we still got this toner business going, and we're full time with it, and I'm clocking 120 hours of work a week, and I told the partner, look, if we're gonna stay friends, like I gotta back up.
Yeah.
And on the barbecue thing, just it was beating us down, and he was like, well, I'm glad you said something because I'm feeling the same way too. So it was just a mutual.
That's nice.
And that would have been 2013, like about April of 2013, I believe it was, maybe even May, whenever we shut that trailer down.
Were you thinking I still want to open something up again because you're working so many hours? Is it because business started to were you seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with the business?
So really, like I was saying, we were making really good money on the toner side. Yeah. So that wasn't a necessity. And I've never, until I came into 2017, whenever I opened this restaurant, I'd never taken a dime as pay in barbecue. So I did this for, several years without even, it was just fun. It was a hobby. I didn't get paid for it. But so May of 2013, whenever we closed it down, summer break. So my wife's a teacher, so she gets summers off. Mm-hmm. So we did a trip. We planned a trip up to Tyler to timeshare that's up there. They got an indoor water park, and that week Texas Monthly's Top 50 came out. That was in 2013, and I was looking at it, and I was like, well, here's the spot right here. It's actually the hat that you got on right now, Miller's. So Miller's was the very first of our Top 50. What turned into be a Top 50 tour in 2013. They were the first stop that I hit.
Were they at their new location or were they still at their old location?
They were still at the old spot. Okay. So they were still cooking everything in that little alley.
Allie, yeah.
Yeah. So we went in there and it was just great, man. It was really good. At the time, I thought we were doing really, really good barbecue, and I thought it was great. I did on this tour. I changed some things, just based on what I was tasting out there. But we went to Miller's first. Then we cut over through Mahia to Kirby's barbecue, and they had made that list. So we tried that out. Hit a few on the way. Once we got to Tyler, we hit Stanley's, and the next day I was looking around and I was like, oh, here's one in Henderson, Texas. It's only like 45 minutes or something like that away, and it was Bob's, I think, is the place there. So I said, I'm gonna go there. I told my wife, she can take the kids to the pool or whatever. She wasn't really interested at that time in all these barbecue spots. But it was there in Tyler. I decided we were going to hit all 50 joints. So the day that we were going back, we went to Riverport.
Oh.
And I think that was probably a solid hour or something like that. So we drove that, went and had barbecue there. And we just got it to go and ate it on the way home. But we went out of the way just to turn around and come back to Tyler and, on the way home. So it became an obsession, but it was in that time, like I was really missing barbecue. Mm-hmm. So a buddy of mine that had a trailer in Round Rock, he was talking about opening a brick and mortar, and he had been asking me to come on with him. So at that, I don't know when it was when I finally gave in, but it was probably about a month into this top 50 tour. I was like, all right, man, I'm going to do it. Let's do it. So we opened up a little place called Curly's, Carolina, Texas.
Okay.
In Round Rock on Main Street. I quickly realized that it wasn't the situation that I needed to be in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Before we even opened, I knew that I needed to get out. So, and I didn't want to just leave him hanging. So so I stuck with it for a few months, and I was back to the 100+ hours, sleeping in the back of my truck in an alley next to the barbecue pit. The first day that we opened, I pulled a 30-hour shift. So it was like that. Plus, doing everything I had to do with the other business. So it didn't last very long.
And that was called Curly's?
Yeah. And shortly after I left, I don't know, they hung in there for another 4 or 5 months or something like that, and ended up closing, which I knew that was going to happen anyway. It was doomed from the beginning, and Daniel Vaughn, he called it when he came in, and that was cool that, as soon as we went in there, we were getting a lot of exposure. Jimmy Ho came in. I vividly remember his review, talking about how good everything was, but the pulled pork was just meh. And that was his review. And it was, we had Carolina in the name, and we were smoking pork butts just doing it Texas style and adding some vinegar sauce to it, and so that was one of the things. But, Daniel Vaughn, he nailed it from the start. It's like, you got Carolina in the name, but you're not doing it that way. Mm-hmm. That was just one of the many, many problems with that concept. So basically I went, just did the toner thing for another year. I decided I was going to go back to the corporate world.
Oh, really?
That account that we had, in the toner thing, it was all of our eggs were in one basket. So, companies, sell, and then they bring it, the new owners come in and they've got their suppliers. So the accounts just dwindled away down to where we couldn't afford to pay ourselves that living that we were doing. So I decided to go back to the corporate world, and I did that for 15 months.
I didn't know this journey. This is really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. So for that 15 months that I was back in the corporate world, it was collecting student loans.
Oh.
I've had some rough jobs, man. Like when I was in high school, I worked in a rice field, walking through the rice fields, pulling wild rice out of the fields, and collecting student loans was worse than that.
That's got to be a hard phone call.
Yeah, it was. So we're calling on people that are dead, and we know they're dead, but we still have to call that number
Really? Oh, they have that? It's even to that extent.
It's rough. So, they want you to produce a certificate of death for these people or whatever. Sometimes like finding an obituary and forwarding it, to another department, but it was that and then just so many other things. Collections is rough. So I did that for 15 months in a company that was about 400 some odd people. But what I was doing, was I was still cooking barbecue at home and I'd bring it in and sample it out. And people, word caught on. So I was selling barbecue to my coworkers and then started selling it on the weekends.
What were you cooking on? Did you have a 250 at home?
Yeah, I did. So once I closed Curly's down, like the pit that I bought that went to Curly's. So in our separation, I sold that to my partner. And probably about a month later, I got a 250 from some guys here in town. And it's actually the guys that did some work on the pit for Curly's. So they built that pit according to the specs that I gave them whenever they fixed that other pit. I saw them post about it. I was like, I want that pit. So I bought it. I got a sweet deal on it. It was like $5,000 they wanted for it. I got it for $3,500, and it was on a trailer and everything. So I had this thing sitting in my backyard. But it was great because I was cooking on the weekends. And then there's a foodies group here in Pflugerville. It's called Pflugerville Foodies. And somebody on there wanted a brisket. And I chimed in. I was like, I can make one for you. So I made this person a brisket. And then they posted on the foodies page that they got one from me. And the next thing I know, like people hitting me up. It went so crazy, like to where on the weekends, I would have a line at my garage of people picking up briskets off of this foodies page.
So why? How weird are things? That's just amazing.
Yeah. So long story short, or maybe it's not going to be short, but I did the collections for 15 months and I built this thing up and I built it up and I built it up to where I kept missing time and I got written up because I was missing too much work. They treated you like elementary school there. So basically they said, well, you can't miss another day and you can't come in late in the next 30 days or you're going to get, the next step up in your punishment or whatever. So I went 30 days. I came in early for 30 days. I didn't miss any time for 30 days. And on day 31, I called in. I'd already decided I was done there. And, I just built it up enough to where I could walk away and everything was going to be all right. Like it was so consistent. I was getting so many orders that I was confident enough to where I could walk away. Maybe not 100% confident. My wife was really, really scared, but I knew, at that time that the time had come. And
were you selling whole briskets?
Yeah. So I would even sell a half brisket, which I would cut it long ways. So they get they get some of the lean and some of the fatty, and that was the only way I would cut it. I didn't do anything by the pound, but I did end up partnering up with a guy that had a smokehouse here in Pflugerville at a bar, and he did barbecue. The only thing he didn't do was briskets. So I would provide him with briskets because he had a place where people would come, were coming in and buying stuff. So if people just wanted a pound or they wanted to taste my brisket, I would send them down there to Brian Gano's spot.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then I'd also, as word spread around, so I started putting my brisket into restaurants, but not just any restaurants, people that were doing creative stuff. So I had it at a pizza joint. I had a really popular trailer in Austin, which is now closed, their food truck. But they were doing all kinds of creative sandwiches and whatnot, but not with barbecue. But I started supplying him with brisket, one of his sandwiches. So I had 4 or 5 restaurants that had my brisket there, and doing different things with them. So that was really cool, and it got a lot of exposure for me, and it allowed people to taste my product if they didn't want a whole brisket.
Yeah, and it gets your name out. What did you call yours? Just Brotherton's Barbecue, maybe?
It was Brotherton's Barbecue and Catering.
Yeah.
Brotherton Barbecue and Catering.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did that for a bit, man, and built that up until I could step away from it. I did a lot of catering. Catering was crazy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I would think catering would help out a lot.
Yeah, I did more weddings then than what I do in this restaurant. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know how that happened. Yeah, so I need to get those people back. Maybe they need to divorce and remarry or something. But
They all watch this, so they'll.
yeah, yeah,
There's a button there. Press that. No, I'm joking.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. So that was cool. But like I said, everything just kind of snowballed, you know. And then I still needed that face to face when people bite into your food. I was missing that aspect of it. And my buddy Brian Gano, the one that had the smokehouse here in town, he was like, man, it's what you're doing right now is good. You don't have to deal with the customers that are in your face, if they don't like something or whatever. And it's a different world. I was like, yeah, but I need that. I need that to have that. That part was missing. So I had this trailer, the one that we bought in 2010. It just been sitting in storage. We've been paying storage on it for 6 years.
I have stuff in storage, and it makes me so mad.
I rolled it out, but I built the brand up so much that at the very first time that I rolled it out, 300 or more people showed up to this pop-up that I did at the Growler Bar, which is a place here in town where you can get, craft beers and stuff. And they hadn't been in business long, but, a really popular place. I went in there and talked to Jason because he had food trailers coming in and said, this is what I want to do. And I told him, but it's going to be really crazy. I knew it was going to be. We decided on this pop-up. I almost canceled it because of the threat of rain. I was planning on cooking so much, and I said, if it rains, like, I'm screwed. I've got all this product, because I literally cooked. I just had a feeling, and I cooked enough for about 300 people.
Wow.
I had Russel Roegels Bewley pit, and that's a whole different story in itself. But that pit is the reason I'm still alive in this restaurant today.
Wow.
It saved my butt, But that I was able to cook that much and hold that much food on site because of that pit. 300 plus people showed up, and everybody's tweeting and tagging the news stations and stuff. And so the next day, KView comes out to my house. And that was really when everything went really crazy because once they did that, I had people, and I live at the corner of a pretty busy road. People were stopping in that road to look at this rig that I got sitting in my driveway while I'm cooking or to talk to me. And I saw you on the news and this and that. And, like overnight, my Facebook account had 500 new followers.
Wow.
On the business side. And I had people that I quoted on catering. They were like, I'm going to send you the deposit right now because I know I'm going to get you while I can. So it was like, what the hell? Like I've been not full time, 100% giving my all, but like we're talking 6 years of wanting this moment.
And it happened almost overnight, like with that specific one, yeah. How did you have Russell's? Did you know Russell through like Texas A&M or like?
So I met Russell. I met Misty first. So when I was doing all this cooking at my house, Brian and Andrew from Tales from the Pits, and I've been friends with those guys for a while now, probably since about 2013 something. I met Brian at Snow's. Well, those guys were going on one of their crazy barbecue trips that they take.
Yeah.
Well, they included my house on one of their stops.
See, that's how in the weeds they are. That's how deliberate they are. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So Misty went with them on that trip, and I met her there. So she had, went back and talked to Russell. Hey, I met this guy or whatever. You should talk to him. I was making sausage, and he was talking about getting into it. So finally, we met at the Texas Monthly Festival, and then the first Houston barbecue throwdown. Russell or Misty, Misty had posted about needing some help at the festival, and I was like, man, if I would have known sooner, I would have came down there. And she was like, well, just do it. So I said, what the hell? We're going to do it. So I got in my truck and drove to Houston and helped them with with that throwdown, and we've just been
Gotcha.
family, ever since.
What's interesting is as I've been doing these interviews, it's funny how often Misty and Russell get woven into the fabric of helping people, and so people love them. And like, even I just talked to Jeff Saville. Yeah, I just interviewed him last week, and he talked about Russell and how great Russell. It was just it's a century seat.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He's the commish.
He is.
So I did that festival with him. That was the first one, and then I became the Roegels Roadshow. I wasn't doing festivals at the time. He was. So I did every festival with them. I still do every festival with them. The only one that I don't do with them is Red Dirt, because last year I got invited to participate. So the past 2 Red Dirts, I've actually done my own thing. But other than that, like, if they have anything going on, I'm there to help them out. And Russell said, it was 2016, he brought me to barbecue summer camp. And at that time, they were doing 2 camps in the summer. So we went up there in June and then went back in July. But in July, they were going on vacation. And I said, well, I'll take that pit back for you. Because he was just going to leave it there and have to come back and get it. So I was like, I'll take it to Austin. And I'm thinking about doing this pop-up anyway, so I could use it. So I took it in July I get the dates mixed up. I ended up with his pit for 15 months. Whenever he had a festival, I would take it to him. He was like, just use it. You're getting use out of it. And it's just going to sit in storage here. So I would cook on this thing. And that's when I fell in love with Bewley's. And I would take it back to him when he needed it. And so he's got these large Christmas orders, and when I still had it, so I had to take it back to him, and that was the worst. That was like the roughest week and a half or 2 weeks of my life, because I've been cooking on this thing, and it makes things so much easier. And now I got to go back to cooking on this 250, and I've got to cook twice what I could cook one time on there. So as soon as he let me know that he was done with it, I was there the next morning to pick that pit up. Having that pit and being able to open this, and once we opened here in Pflugerville,
that was in 2017, right?
That was in April 1st of 2017. Yeah. So I bought a Bewley actually before I even opened up in here. I didn't know what I was going to do, but it was in 2016. I think November, December of 2016, I saw a Bewley on Craigslist. And I asked Russell about it, and he was like, if you don't buy it, I'm going to buy it.
Can you explain to people that don't know what a Bewley is?
Well, it's just another pit manufacturer. I mean, the cabinet's fully insulated. It's exactly the same as an offset. It is an offset cooker, but it just has a damper on the firebox. So I don't have to be here cooking barbecue overnight. My guys don't have to be here overnight. We can set that. Put a little extra wood in there and go home, and then come back early in the morning and finish things up. Okay. So, to me, like, at the time, it was just me doing all the cooking. So there's no longevity in sleeping in 45-minute increments, which is what I was doing when I was cooking at home. I stunk like I just smelled like a barbecue pit. So my option was to put an air mattress on the floor in my living room. And that's what I slept on the weekends. Oh. I slept in 45-minute increments. Go out in the backyard, tend to the smoker, and you lay back down, and I could fall asleep really easily, luckily. So that wasn't a problem. But it did become a problem after coming into the restaurant, because my body was still trying to wake me up every 45 minutes. So.
Oh, geez. Oh, yeah, that's true. Your body's set to that.
Yeah. So we got adjusted in, and all is good now. But
and also too, Pflugerville is how far from Austin, just for people's minds, so they can kind of.
Is the next town north of Austin.
Yeah.
So literally where I'm at, I'm not inside the city limits of Pflugerville. So I actually have Austin Travis County Health Department. Our water supply here is Austin.
Oh.
I mean, really, if I travel 5 minutes, I'm in North Austin. Super close.
And then Round Rock is just
Next town north of Pflugerville.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Austin, Pflugerville, Round Rock.
People are doing that. They could also go kind of to Taylor.
Yeah, we're really close. So there's a tollway that's probably 5 miles east of us, and that's 130. And then that tollway takes you into Hutto, and you hit 79 in Hutto, and you're in. I'm literally 25 minutes to Wayne's place from here.
And isn't Hutto now? I think I saw something a year ago or so. They're building some big shopping complexy thing or something.
Yeah, it's called the Co-op District. So actually, Brian Bracewell is opening up a Southside market there in Hutto. So I think that was the first big name that they dropped as far as in the development there. They were the first big name to be mentioned to go in there. So everything in this area is kind of booming, you know,
and growing pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the fastest growing cities in the country are right here, you know, suburbs of Austin, basically.
So how did you come up with the name? I kind of know the name because obviously your last name, but for your restaurant, and then was the concept these sandwiches again? Is that were you itching to do sandwiches still?
So at one of the barbecue summer camps, it would have been the July. Let's see, it would have been 2017. Barbecue summer camp. I had a gentleman sitting behind me, and we got to talking and talking barbecue and whatnot. I asked him where he was from, and he said Georgetown. Well, that's the next town north of Round Rock. So that was cool. We, had a connection, and he was like, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Pflugerville." And he was like, "Oh, my buddy's about to open up a sandwich shop there in Pflugerville, like a little catering and to-go only sandwich shop." So I was like, that's cool, intriguing. So I followed this once they set up their Facebook page, and it was called Black Iron Eats. So I followed those guys, and then the day they opened, I was their first customer, and came in. The food was fabulous, man. It was really good. And I would come back. I probably came back the next day, probably a few days in a row, and trying different stuff. And I said, I'm gonna try everything on their menu. So as everything progressed, I would come in here and eat all the time. I ate everything on their menu. Well, Brady Clark, who is pretty popular graphic designer in the barbecue world, so he does all of my graphic design, and even beyond that, he does all the graphics for Liberty BBQ. He's done some stuff for Miller's, Hoodoo Brown, Roegels, the long list of people that he's doing graphics and stuff for now. But he brought a gentleman to one of my pop-ups. I think it was my second pop-up, and it was Kelly Gary, who owned Black Iron Eats. They were actually the last people to get food, and I vividly remember talking to this guy, and he shows up to my pop-up, and he's in a, dressed pretty nice, not like a suit and tie. I think he had a tie on, businessman. So Brady introduced us, and we got to talking. He was like, "Man, we need to talk," because he saw the craziness that went down. So we started discussing. I started providing them with brisket, and I talked to Marvin Briley, who was the chef at the time. He's the chef up at Liberty BBQ now. So Marvin Briley was the chef at Black Iron Eats, and he's now up at the Liberty BBQ in Round Rock. He's the chef there now. But I came in and talked to him because I was, at that time I had my barbecue in other restaurants and stuff, like we talked about.
Yeah.
So we talked, and I said, "I'd really like to see you do a French dip with this brisket." I didn't know it at the time, man, but it turned out I could pretty much say, "Marvin, can you do this? Can you make this?" And the dude can make everything.
Wow.
So he made this French dip, and they were already getting baguettes from this place in Austin called the Baguette House, which by far has the best baguettes I've ever eaten, and we still use them. I still drive down there multiple times a week just to get this baguette.
Do they have retail location too?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they do. So they do banh mi as well. So they got the sandwich shop, and they just sell baguettes to like everybody as well. So they went to Paris to learn how to make baguette. Really good stuff. So he took that brisket and he put it on the baguette, did some fried haystack onions, a horseradish crema, and this delicious jus, man. It was so good. The sandwich was just great. And, by then they were getting pretty popular here in Pflugerville. I'd already had this pretty solid branding. So, we put it out on social media that they were doing this, and they just got this huge pop, just this big wave of people coming here. And at the time, there's only 2 tables. It was 3 tables, and they could seat 16 or 18 people in the whole shop. So, we would do that sandwich, and the people were walking away because there was nowhere for them to sit. They'd, hopefully get it to go or whatever. But, their sales are here, and then whenever they would have my product in and do a sandwich with it, it just skyrocketed. So I got to talking with Kelly, and I was looking to move into the retail thing, and they were only open Monday to Friday for breakfast and lunch. So the original plan was for me to come in here and do barbecue in the evenings and on the weekends. Then it developed into, we should just partner up. And so we were looking at other places that we to start doing barbecue, but it just, at the end, it just made sense for me to come in here and do barbecue. So when we originally partnered up, the concept was Black Iron Eats, but you could also get barbecue by the pound. And so Marvin and I would come in here, after we partnered up, and we had a whiteboard, and we would just write ideas on the whiteboard. And then it developed into doing these sandwiches, because a couple of them they were already doing. So, well, let's put a Texas twist on these. So the first one that we did a makeover on was the Reuben, because at the time they were just buying a pre-marinated brisket or a pre-brined brisket from Benny Keith and cooking it in the oven. And I'm like, we've got to change this because we've got barbecue in the name now. We're not cooking a brisket in the oven. So basically, that's where Russel and Misty came in to play again. And, because they do some awesome pastrami over there. They do a fantastic Reuben, and they helped me out with the whole thing. I think I'm one of, if not the only person that has their recipes for pastrami and their sauerkraut. And now that sandwich is just crazy. We do pastrami, we do that sandwich every day, but it's been really good for us, and all that's accredited to Russel and Misty.
Where did you get the bread for that?
We bring one in. It's actually out of Nebraska, and it's a really thick cut marble rye.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And then Ruffino, who is our meat provider, they actually sourced it from us. So we don't just get meat from those guys. We try to get a whole lot of everything from them, and they've been really good for us. So we get that bread from them now, and it's a really good. It's a beautiful little swirl in there. We pay a lot more for it than what we would if we sourced it elsewhere, or some thinner bread, but it just makes for such a huge sandwich, like you're going to get full eating that sandwich, and it's going to be really, really pretty. So we're about, looks are very important on this stuff, and because you're going to eat with your eyes first.
Was that the first, so that was the first kind of barbecue sandwich, or was French dip was it?
We had started right around the same time. I mean, we started just throwing everything out there, man. We did a brisket grilled cheese, and now that the brisket grilled cheese we sell, that is our number one selling item. We sell more of that, and it's at least double the sales from the next one below it.
Wow.
So many of those things.
What type of cheeses are on it?
It's got Monterey Jack and smoked Gouda on it, and then chopped brisket. And then it's on a thick cut Texas toast. Mm. Really simple sandwich, but it's so popular. It's crazy. And I never did any of the sandwiches from the original trailer. Everybody wanted to do it, but I was like, you know what? This is a whole new thing. I don't want to bring any of that stuff back. We're going forward. We started talking about a Philly cheesesteak. So I took Marvin to Way South Philly, which is a little shop in Austin that started in a trailer. I mean, I've had I've been to Philly multiple times and had cheesesteaks all over there, and that sandwich is so good. So if anybody in the Austin area or coming to Austin, if you want a Philly cheesesteak, it's way South Philly.
There's been a lot of recommendations on this interview. That's great. Great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, look, I eat a lot.
Yeah, yeah. No, and so do
So,
I. It's most people that listen to this do. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I took him down to way South Philly, and the thing that stands out most with them is the bread. It's the same, like if you bit into the sandwich, you got the same textures and everything that you're getting in Philly. And the crucial part of that is the Amoroso's roll,
Ah,
and they are bringing that in. So that was the number one step in doing our Philly is we had to source that roll. And so that's what we do now. So if you come here and get a Philly cheesesteak, you're going to get the same textures that you get in Philly, but it's going to be brisket and queso instead of sirloin or ribeye or whatever, and cheese whiz or provolone. So once we started doing that, bringing in that bread, we did have a secret stash back here of cheese whiz, and we would do the thin shaved ribeye, and we would have Philly cheesesteaks here. But I just didn't want to go down that rabbit hole of being a knockoff of a Philly cheesesteak.
do you put it on a flat top at all, or do you?
We toast all the bread on the flat top. Yeah. So every single sandwich it sees a flat top in some form. But those were some of the first ones, and we just, like I said, we just threw ideas out there. Once we got that the fermenting pot doing the sauerkraut, Misty's recipe, we started looking at kimchi, and Marvin somehow got a recipe for kimchi from this from some Asian lady. I don't know like how he did it. I don't know. He wouldn't tell me, but he's got this recipe and it's really good. So we started doing kimchi here and did our version of a banh mi. They don't have kimchi on them, and it works really well with brisket. Yeah, so that's how all the sandwiches started developing. It was never intended for us to do the sandwiches that we're doing. It was all a result of Marvin and I being up in here on a Sunday or whatever, and just throwing ideas out there of what we could do.
Were you planning on the time doing sandwiches and smoked meat?
We were, but it was not integrated at that time.
Yeah.
We were going to keep doing the same sandwiches that they did, and just offer meat, by the pound or in plates. And that was the original concept of this restaurant. It was never the meat incorporated into the sandwiches until Marvin and I got back there and just started kicking stuff around.
When did you start getting recognition? When did like Jimmy Ho come by and Daniel and?
Well, I've been friends with Jimmy for a long time, probably since 2013 when I started hitting all the top 50 joints. That was when we all kind of followed each other on Twitter and stuff. I set up a Twitter page, and that was actually when I met Robert Lerma for the first time. So their friends on Twitter or their followers or whatever would, comment on there and tag me or whatever, and like, you need to see what John's doing. He's hitting all these top 50 joints. And I ultimately went to all the top 50 joints on that 2013 list. So I've been friends with a lot of those guys since then.
Okay.
I knew that once I had opened up, and even when I was doing it at my house, Daniel knew what I was doing because he saw me hitting all these top 50 joints, and we had talked about doing a photo album or whatever. And I never put all that stuff together because I ended up getting busy again. But I knew once I opened up, like I already had the attention of a lot of people. I'd been written up by Matt Odom, who's the food writer for the Austin American Statesman, when we were at Curly's. I'd been written up by Mike Sutter, who's one of the best food writers in the business.
Yeah, it's Fed Men Walking.
Yeah, Fed Men Walking. So these guys were following me, so they knew what I was doing. So once I came in here, like I already had their attention.
Yeah.
And that was really key to this operation because Pflugerville was notorious for people not supporting the mom and pop shops. And even when I came in here, like it had started getting better. It's a whole lot better now, as the population increases and the diversity of people and palates come into the town. A lot of people are pushing more towards supporting the local business, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that way in the past. So for me to come into a place and open up a restaurant, I didn't have financial means to sit and twiddle my thumbs and wait for people to come. I had to build that audience before I opened.
Were you selling out at the beginning?
We did, but I was making a whole lot less, you know. And early on, like we hadn't developed all those sandwiches yet. So, like I said, I wasn't cooking as much, and we were pretty much at first we were just doing it on the sandwiches, and we didn't even do barbecue by the pound. Man, it was months into it once we started doing barbecue by the pound every day. Because it was so much to juggle, and like I said, we had started selling these sandwiches and stuff, and that was the barbecues. You could get it on that sandwich at first, you know.
So were you cooking everything on the Bewley?
I was cooking everything on the Bewley. That was the only way I could do it because, you know, I'm in this new place and we're putting in processes, things are breaking, you know. So literally, like, I was 18-hour days, you know, at least 6 days a week. And on the seventh day, like, I was up here fixing stuff. Yeah. So it was never at home. It was brutal. And that was with having that Bewley, which is just crazy, you know. There's no way I could have done this without having that Bewley, though.
You upgraded to a Moberg, right?
Yeah, recently. So we got a Moberg in May of this year, and that's really changed the game for us. I mean, we're still doing briskets on the Bewley, always will. I'm not gonna go back to cooking throughout the night or having somebody here cooking throughout the night. The Bewley works for us. We've got our systems down on it.
Yeah.
Food does not suck that comes off of it. So, but our ribs, we do our ribs and, you know, our daytime stuff on there, turkey, whatnot. But our ribs are just insanely good now that we switched over to that pit. It's taken us to another level on our rib game for sure.
How long did it take you to get that?
It took us a long time. I'll leave it at that.
Well, if you ordered a Moberg today, you might be getting one in 2021.
I don't know what his wait list is right now.
Well, and also he's changing things, so maybe once that new whatever he's doing, yeah.
Yeah, once he gets his new place opened up, I'm sure that'll help things out a lot. But we took a while, you know, and waited patiently, and it happened, and we're really grateful to have Sonny's equipment out there because it's like I said, it's really changed the game on our ribs. 9-day difference, and they were good before, but they're great now.
And what are your hours now? What were they a couple of years ago? Have they changed at all?
Yeah, I mean, we've changed things up. We still stuck with when I first came in here, we still stuck with the Monday through Friday at first. We quickly replaced Monday with Saturday. And then, and at the time we were doing breakfast, we started incorporating barbecue into breakfast. And that was wild. It just wasn't enough people in Pflugerville because it's a bedroom community, you know, for the most part. So most people are working in Austin or Round Rock, and they weren't here during the week in that time where we had breakfast. So we had put all this effort into it. Not enough people show up. Mm-hmm. But on Saturdays, it was a different story. It started interfering with us transitioning into lunch because we would cut breakfast off at 10:30, the orders, but everybody and their mom in the town came in here at 10:20.
Of course,
it just didn't make sense for us and what we were trying to do, so we cut it off. But the breakfast was great, man. We were doing short rib hash, brisket migas. Really cool stuff, man. French toast with bananas, Foster syrup on it. The breakfast, like there was no breakfast like this around here, and still to this day, everybody begs us to bring breakfast back. But when I feel like it makes sense, you know, we'll do it. And eventually, we added Sundays to our hours, and the plan was to do brunch on Sundays. I'm not at the point to where I'm comfortable doing that yet. I don't know. I'm putting it off. I know people want it.
Yeah.
And I know how much chaos it's going to cause in our kitchen because it's going to be really crazy once we do it, you know, if we do bring it back. So we're 6 days a week now. And we do barbecue up into the evening. We cook a lot to where we try to get to 7 p.m. daily. Usually we'll sell out in that last hour. So I'm not trying to open up for 3 hours a day or anything like that. That that concept doesn't work well in Pflugerville.
Yeah.
So people know we're open extended hours every day. So I don't have a line waiting, for us to open up. Once we open up the doors, people start to pile in pretty good. But our the bulk of our business is lunch, and it's people that have an hour for lunch.
Gotcha.
So they leave their office or whatever, get here, eat, and have to get back in an hour, and we cater to that. So we move everything really fast. We've expanded twice from the original 3 tables and 16 or 18 chairs, and so now we're actually triple the size of what we were, and we've got 95 seats. And so we get, like I said, we get people in and out. We get them in and out fast because they've only got an hour to eat. I don't know, and I'm kind of grateful for it. I don't know that I'd want to look out and see, a line that's going to take 3 hours to feed everybody.
Yeah, that's a different kind of stress.
It was very stressful in the trailer when we do those pop-ups, because mostly we did one a month. Basically I was pulling in people from all over the place. So it's a whole new something, they're doing burgers or whatever at their daytime job, and then they come in here and we flip to barbecue, and they've never worked with anybody. So it was rocky, nothing went smooth.
I can imagine.
And actually at least 4 of the people that did the pop-ups with me are still here with me today in the restaurant. So yeah, super cool.
And how are you able to take vacation because of the staff that you've created?
I haven't really until this week. I could take an extended vacation, like incorporate a Friday into the weekend or something like that, But after struggling and beating yourself up for hours upon hours a day, my general manager and I, Rob, as we grew, we were like, and Kelly, my partner too, we were like, we need another person. So I would put people in a position, and as we grew, I would hire another and slowly take some of that workload off of us because we were killing ourselves, And we had dates I don't recall, but we had hired Dominic to work front of the house and back of the house, and he saw me, and it's 114 degrees on this pit. We're cooking everything. We don't have a pit room. We're cooking on trailers at the end of our parking lot because we're in the strip mall. So I'm going back and forth all day long. It's 114 degrees. I'm pouring sweat, killing myself. And Dominic says, "Do you need some help out there?" And I said, "Yes." And it just changed from there. It really changed my life because I wasn't killing myself anymore. I had to help,
Well, and that's important for, I think, most business owners.
Absolutely. So I've slowly put people in places, and we've expanded our staff to where I don't have to be here all the time. There's somebody here to do every job. One of the early hires that I did was Courtney, and she's been with us pretty much since we opened. But she said, "I need more hours. I need more money." I was like, "Okay, look, on top of all this other stuff I've got going on, I've got people bombarding us with messages on a social media, catering requests, so many things that people don't think about, and they didn't see that I was having to deal with this too in the short amount of time doing this as well." So if anybody doesn't believe it, ask my wife, and she'll tell you how little time we spent together. It was rough. So I talked to Courtney. I was like, "Look, then I can pay you a percentage of the caterings that you book." So she took over answering questions that came into our social media pages and emails for catering and such. So now I've got somebody to handle that. So now when I'm at home, I get to spend a little bit more time with my wife and my son. So, like I said, as we grew, we hired people. And now I've got such an awesome staff. I was able to leave for a little over a week, actually, this past week. And everything went smooth, and the operation's still going. The barbecue's just as phenomenal as it always is. I'm not the one that's cooking it anymore. I get out on the pit once a week or something like that now, just to stay fresh on things. Just got some really good people in those positions that I can trust.
That's amazing. What an interesting journey.
Yeah, super cool.
With Liberty, are you doing sandwiches at all?
No, so that was part of that deal. I didn't want to, I didn't want to kill any business here by offering the same menu items there. So the barbecue recipes, the meat, it's the same. We're cooking on a Bewley up there. We've got a Moberg coming in August. Help us improve up there. Other than that, the menus are completely different. So we were in we took over a spot that was a pizza joint, and they left the pizza ovens in there. So we made use of that, and we're doing some barbecue centric flatbreads.
Oh yeah, I saw that on the menu. Yeah.
There's the flatbreads. We're doing some bar type food because it's a full bar. Cocktails and beer and everything up there. A lot more beers on tap.
What are the hours for that place?
So we're later in the day. So it's 11 to 9, I believe. And then Friday, Saturday, we open until 10. And now started doing brunch, which is 11 to 3 or 4. I don't recall. But yeah, totally different concept up there.
Wow, that's nice. And so if people want brunch, they can go up there.
Yeah. But it's totally different. So even on the brunch menu there, we're not going to do the same thing that we were doing here in Pflugerville, because when we do that, I don't want to offer the same items. So, and the same chef that created all those items has created something new up there, and he knows that we don't want to backtrack to do what we were doing in Pflugerville, because eventually we're gonna bring those things back. We just don't know when.
Wow. Well, John, thank you for taking the time. This has been super informative, and I think I always try to get my head around the fact that you had 2 places and how that worked, and then I didn't realize the whole journey. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's been a journey, man. It's been fun. It's really cool to be able to do this full time now. That was really really changed me. Like I was very, very unhappy. I love doing the toner and laser printers and stuff, but that went away and it's never coming back.
No, it won't. I don't think so.
No, the 15 months that I spent collecting student loans, it was brutal. It sucked the life out of me. There were some really good people there, and I'll still stay in contact with them. And actually, that company is one of our top customers here, because we do all their catering now. Not all of it, but we do a lot of catering for those guys now. A couple big parties a year for 300-400 people.
And they're still around.
Yeah. And so that was just timing was great. Other than marrying my wife and having a kid, like that was probably the best decision I've ever made.
This is where your passion is.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. I don't think anybody's going to question that, man. I live and breathe barbecue. I eat it everywhere, and now multiple states. So it's life for me, man. If I don't have it, I'm not the same.
Well, I hope that people listening to this that haven't tried your stuff do make that trip, because it's just right. It's just 2 seconds away. It's not even a thought if you're in Austin, because most people come through Austin.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's basically Austin, And with that, that's a lot of the reason why we didn't just do traditional barbecue. That's the reason that the sandwich menu has developed, so we could stand out, because there's so much great barbecue here, man. It's just unbelievable the amount of really, really good barbecue here. So for us to get any recognition, I just felt that it was going to be much harder to get that if we did the same thing that they're doing,
No, and I think that's the case across the United States. But people are the ability to cook great barbecue is there. It's just a lot of times people put their background in their own twist.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, a lot of people we're seeing a lot of people doing what we've been doing for the last 2 years.
I know.
So people are starting sandwich menus and stuff, and that's cool. And really, I've started to feel lately that we're getting passed up at our own game. So we're doing some really cool stuff. Once I get back from vacation, I'm leaving this week. I'm going to be in Alaska until August 1st. So once I get back from that vacation, we're going to do a menu revamp.
Okay. We're
bringing back some sandwiches that we took away. I'm redoing our Cuban sandwich, so I'm starting to do that more like a Carolina style pork, where I'm gonna. I've got a barbecue pit actually that Kerry Bexley and his son, made from, Snows. So it's the same style pit that they use over there.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to start cooking this pork over the coals, crisping up the skin, chopping that up in with the meat, and putting that on a Cuban sandwich. So we've done a Cuban before, just with pulled pork that we smoke. So we're just looking at ways we can take things up a notch. So that one's going to be in the world of Cuban sandwiches, that one's a game changer for sure.
I can't wait for that. I mean, you know what? It's funny too because you could just tell that you love food and that you're putting together sandwiches that you would love, not necessarily just putting together a sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I don't like it, it's got to be great for me. I feel like anybody can come in the store. If we're out of one thing, you should be able to get another, and it should be really good. I don't feel that there's any weak items on our menu at all. It was intentional. It didn't happen by accident. And my guys they'll let you know. Like I'm very picky. If things aren't perfect, I'm gonna send it back or whatever. Or you need to fix this. It needs to look good. It needs to taste great. We're not here doing what we're doing without that.
No, definitely, and I've only heard great things about your food and about you as a person, and so I'm honored that you would take this long of a time to tell your story and share.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We've been trying to do this for a while. I think I look back at emails from you, and I was so busy early on when you started reaching out to me. But it's been almost 2 years since we've been trying to make this happen, and it's just with so many things going on. I've always got something going on.
Yeah, and I'm pretty tenacious. If there's someone I really want to talk to, I'll keep bugging them, but in the nicest way possible.
Yeah, well, it's been cool, man.
Well, cool. Well, I can't wait to visit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're just in a little rundown shopping center. It's a different world once you walk in, though. From the outside, we got some pretty pits in a shady parking lot.
Thank you again, and I appreciate it. Have a good day today and a good week.
Well, I'll listen to all the other ones you got. Until then, I enjoy listening to your podcast, man. It's great. And
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I love this.
To be on it, man. People, I love the world. I love it all.
Yeah, me too, man. It's awesome folks in this industry. It's family, barbecue family. That's what it's about.
And I feel like I know you a lot more. I'm excited to meet you in person.
Right on, man. Well, I look forward to it. If you don't make it here, I'll meet you somewhere else and eat barbecue with you.
Sounds good. Yeah, that would be great too. Excellent.
All right, right on, man.
All right, right on. Take a good week. Have a good week.
All right, you too. Thanks.